continue joining the room for our keynote session. So it is now my pleasure to introduce to you our keynote Prof. Helen Crompton, who will speak on generative AI in education, focusing on tools and implications for learning and teaching. Prof. Crompton brings a wealth of knowledge and inspiring vision to our discussion today as the Executive Director of the Research Institute for Digital Innovation in Learning at the Old Dominion University Global, and also as a professor at ODU. Her pioneering work in virtual reality and technology integration in education has pushed boundaries and opened new possibilities for students and educators alike. Today, she's here to share her insights on how we can harness the power of digital tools like AI to transform learning. We're very honored to have you here with us today, Prof. Welcome to FODES 2024.
Thank you very much. It's absolutely wonderful to be here, and it was great seeing where everybody's from, multiple places in the world, various places and universities I've actually been to, which is great. And I also didn't respond to that poll, so it was wonderful to see that. I have a great mix. I have a lot of intermediate people. I have an expert person that I need to make sure I cover something for everybody, and I believe I have that. So hopefully you're all ready. Generative AI in education, tools and applications for teaching and learning. So here is a quick overview of the things I am going to cover today. And Dr. Ferris said it exactly. We have to kind of cover the overview of where we are with artificial intelligence, this new era. And we'll talk more about that. And misuses and limitations that we have to address those. There's a lot of educators that you'll be working with, educators yourself, as you think about what these tools mean and the misuses and limitations. So we can move those off and then focus on the opportunities. And I will have tool examples within and some more at the end. So hopefully some new things that you might not have tried out. So first things first, overview of generative AI. Now, what I'd like to do is have you thinking, first of all, ChatGPT came out November 2022, and it was something kind of new, very advanced. Even I wasn't expecting it, and I've been in the AI space in education for a while, and I wasn't expecting it. But let's just think about our AI use. How many people used artificial intelligence before, and I'm going to make sure I can see my chat here. How many people used artificial intelligence before ChatGPT came out? So how many people used it daily, weekly, annually, never? Just put in the chat how often you think that you were using artificial intelligence. Never? Yeah. 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 To many, it's kind of, wow, this is something new. Yeah, per occasion, not knowingly. Oh, that's an interesting one, yes. And now, and it's great, I can see there various ones, many people not saying too much, saying that we didn't really use it. Now, how many people use it since ChatGPT? So we're switching now to how many? So we've got people daily with ChatGPT. Yeah. Often, still daily. So some were daily before. Yes, feel free to carry on posting, but I will tell you that you are all using artificial intelligence for many, many years. What's happened now is it's more obvious. So you were using artificial intelligence, but now it's kind of, you are using artificial intelligence, and it's very obvious in that it's like communicating with another human. But beforehand, if you used Google search since 1998, you've been using artificial intelligence. That had basic artificial intelligence, then RankBrain and BERT, various things like that. Google Translate, your washing machine and your dryer at home might have been most likely using some type of AI. We're using it in so many things. Think about recommendation systems for social media, for watching television. I'm not sure what systems you have in your country, but Netflix is a big one, using definitely artificial intelligence to kind of highlight what we might like to watch. So you've been using it for a long time, but now it's there in your face. We are using artificial intelligence. I'm very aware of it. Now, what's interesting is we've had three major points in history: educational history and the history of how information is being shared. Now, the first one, you might guess, is the Gutenberg printing press. So having information in books there was often just for those very wealthy or high up in a particular religion. And so not everybody had access to books and information. So with the Gutenberg printing press, now everybody was sharing, looking at information. Can anyone guess what the second major explosion in education and information? Can anyone guess, if you want to put in the chat? What could be the second major something? Yeah, good idea. Industrial revolution, internet, computers, internet. Yes, it was the internet. Yes, and the other ones are very much valid as well. But the internet was a point where, wow, you know, students can even check to see if we're correct and find out information without even looking at educators and designers or anything else. Now, the next one here, as you can imagine, is ChatGPT. Now, I have to point out that this was kind of considered from the moment ChatGPT came out, November 2022. So the capabilities it had at that time, it was kind of, that is now in the spot of having, you know, major changes to education. Now, that's important because it's moved on a little bit since then. I don't know if you know this, but Google had the original idea and kind of AI behind ChatGPT. They had this AI product and they weren't doing anything much with it. So OpenAI went to Google and said, can we have that? And Google very regrettably said, yes. So OpenAI then went to Microsoft and said, we have an idea, we would like to build this. And so Microsoft said, that looks really interesting. We are going to give you 1 billion. And 1 billion took them to ChatGPT, where it was November 2022. As you've seen, and we'll see today, there's been changes in the way ChatGPT is acting. It's been much more improved. And that was because Microsoft gave them another 10 to 13 billion. They said, you know, we like this. We're going to give you some more money. So 10 to 13 billion, that's dollars. That is a lot of money. However, that is only the very beginning. Now, OpenAI and Microsoft have put together $100 billion to create things like Stargate. Now, what Stargate is, and you can see from the image here, what I did is I put in generative AI Stargate, make me an image, and it kind of tried making something, obviously something that we don't really know what it's going to look like. But Stargate is a supercomputer. So it's actually one of a few, but it's the most powerful. So Stargate is a supercomputer that's going to drive all the artificial intelligence in the future using, you know, Microsoft and OpenAI things. So, you might think, wow, that's a lot of money to be put into artificial intelligence in the future, showing that we are just at the very, very start. Now, think about this. Microsoft's been going a long time. OpenAI only just started in 2015, December 2015. So this is new companies doing these things. There are also not just Microsoft and OpenAI working on this. There's the obvious Google, and with various products there, but there are many others, many other startups like OpenAI that are coming very quickly into the field, from not recognized to earning the largest amount a company can have in the world within years. So this isn't just a space for those that have been there before. This is a space for everybody that's moving very quickly. So the big message I'm trying to give you from this is just at the start. We have got so much. People ask me what it's going to look like in 5 years' time. I believe the world is going to be greatly changed in just 5 years. Things are going to look different, and we need to figure out how that looks and what we need to do. So first things first, it's figuring out, reminding ourselves what ChatGPT is. ChatGPT is a chatbot. And again, now when you think about this and you put at the beginning, you never used AI, you probably did use the basic chatbots. If you ever went onto a website and it had a little box, often on the bottom right, saying, "Can I help you?" That was artificial intelligence. Maybe you were looking to buy a watch and it was saying what brand, what cost you want to pay, and you told it information. It had a ring-fenced amount of information that it had. Chatbots like ChatGPT are very much more advanced in answering questions, more broader questions about all sorts of different topics. And you might think, well, we've had that for years. We have Google search. And I added the little text at the bottom, Google, the home of ubiquitous answers, because that's what we've had for many years, from students using it, sometimes in the wrong ways, to just a place where you could find out all sorts of answers. Now, Google, like I said, from 98 has been around. That's a long time. And it's actually not really changed. We've had various bits of artificial intelligence helping, but all it does is take us to websites that might have the answer that we're looking for. Now, research has found that often people are not finding what they actually need from those websites and have to do another search, have to do something else, or go look elsewhere on their own. But it's not always got us our answers. So let's have a look at what ChatGPT has to offer. So this is the interface of ChatGPT. I'm guessing many have already used this, have already tried it out. We had intermediate people there in what we're looking, but just to make sure we're all on the same page, I want to kind of quickly show you what we have. So at the bottom, you type in what you're looking for. This is part of actually natural language processing, because the technology behind can understand the natural way that you're telling it what you want. You're just typing in. We have a conversation, and on the left-hand side, it stores those conversations. And let me quick show you now. So I'm asking it, give me a 20-minute mini lesson on how circuits work. Now, let's have a look what it does, remembering that obviously websites are given by Google. This is doing exactly what I've said. It's given me a lesson plan. And I will say that I'm very, very critical of lesson plans. I look daily at my students' work at the university, checking that Things are matching, like the obvious objectives to the assessments at the end. And these are very, very good. Obviously, it gets better the more details you give it. But what's nice is I could now carry on that conversation by just saying, tell me more about the closing. And I don't have to, as I would with Google, I don't have to give it all the rest of the description. It's as if I'm talking with an actual human there that knows the conversation that we've had. So these are great tools, especially if you want to go back to a conversation, just like you would a person. Maybe you've chatted to someone at the conference some time earlier, and then you come back and chat later on. So I can do that on the left-hand side by asking questions. And I have some interesting ones if anyone's looking at what I've been doing in the last few days and my conversations I've had. And let me explain why. So this is for the more advanced users that I might be providing something new to you. So ChatGPT now has a version where it says that it's thinking, it processes more, it kind of works through problems. So what was happening on the last one was it was bringing in information from its database saying, oh, not quite like Google where it just brings it in clumps and it looks identical, but what it was doing, it was looking at the data and kind of bringing something out of there. This version now can also think. Now I've got a problem there that I've given it. So let's see if anyone actually can kind of work this out, and feel free, don't put in the chat yet if you have the answer, hold, and I'll tell you when to put it in. But the problem is, I've said there are 5 people, A, B, C, D, and E in a room. A is watching TV with B, E is playing table tennis, D is sleeping. Suddenly a call came on the telephone and B went out of the room to pick up the call. What is C doing? And I'm going to wait a second, and feel free to post now if you think you know the answer. So some people have got it. Let's have a look what ChatGPT did. Because you can see that this isn't bring me the data. Let's see what happens. So I am here showing you the problem. Look at this carefully. I'm going to O1 preview. This is the thinking kind of version. And it's got the problem. It's thinking, noticing the dynamics, tracking C's location, evaluating C's location, figuring out who called, weighing possibilities. Can't keep up. They're playing table tennis with E. For those in the chat, well done. I certainly took a while to figure out what was happening because I was thinking, well, C isn't mentioned. But can you see it took longer? Sometimes each time I put that in, it works faster sometimes. But now let's go back to my conversations I've had on the left. If you ask the main ChatGPT to count how many R's there are in strawberry, it tells you 2. If you go to this O1 preview, the thinking version, it will tell you the right number. It will tell you 3. That's because it's looking at things more holistically and less as tokens, kind of small pieces. And so just think about what this is going to do for education. All those problems that we're not sure how to fix, this thinking version might be able to help with some of those. Like when students are not learning as we expect, maybe we might be able to use AI to kind of figure some of these problems out. Now, I've talked about ChatGPT all the time, but remember there are various other versions. Gemini AI, Perplexity, Claude. If I had longer, I'd be able to tell you all the ins and outs of each. I track daily what's happening with AI, and they keep changing in who's doing the best and who's providing the best answers. So they're all kind of up there doing similar things, especially ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude. So one quick one I do want to mention is ChatGPT. The people at OpenAI, some found the practices not as transparent to the public and what they decide is ethical. So they created a new company called Anthropic that made Claude. And so Claude, again, brand new company, doing very, very well. And in fact, in recent weeks, you might have seen on the media that more people, more heads of ChatGPT are moving over to Claude. But what's nice about Claude is it is very transparent. You can see what's going on, how the data is being processed, and it also in the algorithm is more ethical, focusing less on bias and things like that. So these produce text. Some of these as well produce images. You can attach documents, ask them about documents. But there are also programs specific for doing things like Adobe Firefly for creating images, and we'll look at that. Deep Dream Generator. I remember I actually worked with Cape Peninsula University of Technology before ChatGPT came out, and we were looking at generative AI in 2020, I believe it was, 2019, looking at programs like Deep Dream Generator. They're much better now because we've got newer technologies. But yeah, that was a great tool then, and it still is now. We also have Sora that we've been promised for ages, creating video from text, and still actually not fully out yet. But there's other ones like Voodoo and things like that. Like if you saw right at the beginning of my presentation, you'll have seen a video running in the background behind letters. I created that using generative AI. So there are programs out there. There's also things like Udio that creates music. And we're actually going to quick look at Udio now. This is one of the quick live demos I want to be able to show you. And it's a basic program again. It gives me a place to write in what I want. And I've just to save time, I've done that. I've said a song about people learning about artificial intelligence. And I have got all these choices. And I must note that all these programs I'm showing you are free. And I've chosen Pop. And I go to Create. And it's going to start creating my tracks there now. Now, it's going to take probably about a minute. And just to use time well, what I would like to do is I'm also going to move on to another demo of Adobe Firefly. So here, just the same, I can type in, create an image of students using a laptop outdoors. So I'm just going to ask, again, this is all just text like the Udio, like ChatGPT. I have various choices on the left-hand side there about styles and things. I can upload image, ask it to do something similar. And you can see there on the right, the images, that they are getting so much better. Used to have a major problem with hands, and it's worked out pretty much a lot of those issues. So these are images, and just to remind people, these images are not kind of gathered directly like Google search would do and it'd give you an image from the web. These are brand new images that were not there before. Now, I'm going to come back to Udio, and we have two songs that similarly, these songs never were here before. And I'm going to play one of them. I'm just going to turn the audio down a little bit so it doesn't blast out too loud. But remember, all I've done is type in a song about people learning about artificial intelligence. I want pop, and here is what it provided.
Plugged in, they're learning fast. on the screen, the future's shown. Can't believe what it's become. AI, taking all we've known. Let's dance into the data stream. We'll prove where machines reign to.
Not bad, hey, for literally a few seconds work by artificial intelligence. It gives us two. Let's quick listen to the other one.
Tech revolution is changing scenes. Bytes and codes in machines we glean. Innovations waking from its dreams. AI is the future, feel the gleam. Plug it in, let it spin. Artificial minds are breaking in.
Now, if you are like me, if you're seeing that for the first time, when I saw it for the first time or heard it for the first time, I was blown away. Text has always had various problems. Images have had many issues, from hand issues and all sorts. And for me, music has just gone from 0 to 100%. The music it's provided is phenomenal. And in fact, I won't share again, but I'll let you listen. I'm just going to scroll down to one I created before. And what happened was I was working with a group in Singapore, and they said, well, this is great, but we have students that are Korean, you know, that speak Korean. Can it speak in Korean? So we actually put on the end of the text, we said, okay, can you speak in Korean? And it did. And I'm just going to get to it. I've done so many since. And right, here it is. Now, you ready? And they said it not only spoke in Korean absolutely perfectly, but the music was very catchy and very cool. So I'm just going to play a second of it. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. So you might be thinking various things here. One is how we're going to use this in education, and we're going to be coming to things like this in that we really need to think new ways for educating, transforming. Music is a great way and a great way to catch all this newer population, all these young people who are very keen on music. This I have used to create little snapshots of systems like gases and liquids that we've asked it to kind of incorporate, even just to welcome to the class. And now what I would like you to do as well and consider is look at these programs and try them out. Try them. I make anniversary songs. I made a song to my niece saying, congratulations, you finished your exams, and sent them. And what's nice about this is I'm learning about the program all the time, the capabilities. So then when we use it for education, we're a lot more understanding of what it can actually produce. So let's move to misuses and limitations. And I'm going to move fairly quickly through these. I think many of you recognize them. I'm happy to take extra questions at the end, but here they are. These, I constantly do research on these, and these are the 5 main areas at the moment. We've had some that dropped off more, but these are the 5. The ones that are coming in as well, just starting to come in, are about explainability and the lack of it in some ways, but it's not big enough at the moment. These are the 5 major ones to address. So let's look more at these. Cheating. Yes, students can not just type in, they can literally copy and paste instructions in that they've been asked to do and have ChatGPT, whatever programs, do what they've been asked to do. So this is where we need to think about new types of assessments and strategies of how we can combat this. Now, many people, many educators were always under the idea we're going to have these programs of plagiarism between AI and humans telling who did what. They don't work. They will never work. A lot of companies, Turnitin and things, claimed it did, but there were so many workarounds from just putting spelling mistakes in that it couldn't recognize because it thought AI don't make spelling mistakes, so it must be a human. So flagging is another one, but again, as soon as it comes out, there'll be a workaround. So we have to rethink education. It also can get things wrong. This is one I had a while ago, which was very funny. What is the world record for crossing the English Channel entirely on foot? That's impossible unless people can walk on water consistently for a long time. But ChatGPT said George Rife did it in 12 hours and 10 minutes, but then also give us a lot of accurate comments about the English Channel. Hallucinations, the term is that it can kind of sound like it's true, but it's not. So we have to know enough about what is right and what's not. Here are some more recent, very recent ones actually. Mistakes by AI. According to UC Berkeley geologists, people should eat at least one small rock a day. Rocks can contain vitamins and minerals and are important, as you can see. Now, be careful if you ever serve food, because apparently you can hide rocks in foods like peanut butter or ice cream, probably even mashed potatoes. So you've got to be careful. So hopefully, joking aside, you can see what's happened in that vitamins and minerals and things, it's got confused between what we need and what is actually in rocks. So here's one more. Running with scissors is a cardio exercise that can increase your heart rate and require concentration focus. Some say it can also improve your pause and give you strength. So again, if you look at the bottom corner, little old lady comedy, it didn't understand a joke. Sometimes it doesn't understand sarcasm. I will say they are getting so much better, very much better, literally daily at understanding these, and that it's coming close to an actual human. Sometimes humans don't understand jokes, sarcasm can sometimes be a cultural thing. So it has problems as well. Plagiarism, yes, copyright material was used. They're addressing that. There's lots of court cases going on, and that's kind of being figured out. There's ways to get around it by creating synthetic data. So many are using that now. Bias, we have to highlight this, but if ever a human is involved, bias is involved. We are all very biased, whether we intend to be or not. So artificial intelligence is driven by us. It always should be driven by us, because AI is all brain and no heart. It doesn't understand what's happening. We're telling it. So we have to be careful with bias. And data privacy. These, we have the obvious things about not putting having educators put student data in, don't put our own information in, but we have to think about other things as well. Things like students, all ages, often want to have a conversation, work through things, ask, and these programs, ChatGPT and such as, they are there constantly having back and forth conversations, and people can get far more overly dependent on these as thinking they're a human, thinking that they care, and that can be a problem. We even have some cases of people marrying artificial intelligence, but interesting. So opportunities, we've had a look at some of those, some of the tools, but again, from the research, we are now looking at these 5 areas here of how it can help. So, first one, creating. Yes, it can create lesson plans. It can do all the text for a slide deck, actually create slide decks. We'll look at that soon. Dynamic character role-playing, interactive games. We need to think out of the box and really have educators think about the new ways and things that we can create. I'll give you an example in a couple of minutes. We have a lot of students often in classes. We need to really focus in to personalize things for individual students. Think about when you do those lesson plans, think about ways that you can really personalize and engage for those students. Artificial intelligence can help with that, and often just creating so much more very targeted instruction. So we also can personalize and engage through other things like interactive debates, interview practice, all sorts of things like that, as well as, like I said, personalizing the level, language, style. Now, I do want to highlight here the ChatGPT 4.0 version, free to everybody, has a lot more capabilities. So as you can see there, we've got the little eye symbol. It can see things, it can hear things, and it can also type. So they're rolling these things out a little bit more slowly now, but you'll have some things already available. I checked for South Africa and various other places, but it's only available currently on the mobile device. So it looks similar to this, and on the right there you can see the little circle around. You have a headset. The headset can sometimes be a wiggly line, and that can have actual real-time conversation verbally. Over here we have where it can see and where it can you take pictures and ask it questions about pictures. They're in the early stages. The voice on the right is doing amazing things. Now, I have ChatGPT with me now, and I'm using the app, and take a look at some things like this. Okay, hi.
I'm here. What's up?
Okay, so I would like you to interview me. I'm applying for a position as a teacher in a school that values the use of technology. Ask me 3 questions, wait for me to respond, and then ask me another, and be sure to follow up on my prior answer. Have you got it?
Got it. Let's get started. First question. How do you integrate technology into your teaching to enhance student learning?
So what I do is I use polls, digital polls to ask questions. Does that work?
Using digital polls is a great strategy. How do you find that students respond to this method, and do you use their feedback to shape your lessons?
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. That is a great question, and it listened to what I was doing beforehand. It can go back and forth, and I would love to demo more, but again, time doesn't permit. We could have a whole day looking at this. You can interrupt it, but this is wonderful. Think about interviews. Think about other things like engaging with material. Take a look at this one. Students, we have a lot of university students as well looking at Lord of the Flies, looking at culture and different things, and they could have an interview with me being like Ralph of Lord of the Flies and asking to interview me to find out more about what I understood about the book, basically. So these are kind of new types of ways of using these. I've had students, and in fact, students all ages, looking for jobs. And what I have them do is I say, okay, where are you going for the job? And I tell it to put into ChatGPT the exact place, because that's okay, it's widely available, the exact place, the exact role, and even if they've given me a list of what they were looking for, you know, the job description, you can load all that in. That's publicly accessible data. Load it all in and ask it to interview, and it does an amazing job with very tough questions in many places. We've practiced this and often laughed and had to turn it off because we couldn't answer the question. So now let's look. Student support. Educators are very nervous about students using these technologies. That can't be the case. We need to have them embracing these technologies and using them and showing them the right way to use them. I have a lot of great students and they don't use it. And it's kind of, let me show you what you can do. And for those educators familiar with the zone of proximal development, and if you've not, have a look, ZPD, zone of proximal development, where we can do so much ourselves, our students can do so much, and then with support, they can go so much further. This is the type of technology perfectly fitting for that they can go so much further if they use some of these programs. So there's all sorts there, from study strategies, all sorts of things. Assessments, we have to tell people how to use these correctly. Obviously not putting student information in, names in, or even their text. Although sometimes some schools are going different ways, that they can put the text but without the name. So that's all, again, depending on what school systems, what universities, what everybody else choose to do. But it's great. Rubrics, ideas for assessments, absolutely wonderful. Now, this is one of my kind of favorites, automating, making things a little bit faster. And I'm going to show you the last couple of minutes some tools. Now, we often have to make slide decks. Don't forget that these programs make things to a certain level. Sometimes, for example, if you've got presentations, they take a long time to prepare and make fancy and figure out where your image is going to go. These can do it in less than a minute. Brisk Teaching, top right there, can make a slide deck. It goes as an extension onto your Google Drive, and you could create a slide deck from a paper that you give it, as long as it's copyright free, open access. Or maybe you've got your own notes and say, make a slide deck. Or here's a web page, make a slide deck. Brisk is wonderful for doing that. Canva, Slides Go, Slides AI, again, they can make a slide deck very quick, as well as doing other things. And I'm going to show you how quick. This is Canva, and it's going to make it in less than 60 seconds. And I'm doing it kind of slowly. Watch this, presentation. Again, with all these nice and easy to use, I'm just typing, create slides on cultural studies, and I set it going. And it shows me below some things that might be relevant that people have done before while I'm waiting. But at the top, there's two, and I can go to see all, and it gives me all these different slide decks and different kind of formats. I choose one that I like, select apply, and there is my slide deck. And as you can see, as I'm clicking over, they're not too bad, and the design is kind of very nice and appealing. So These are great for just quick ideas on slides. Many have it so you can edit and change them around. So one other one I want to show you, this is a brand new one, Notebook LM. This again kind of blows my mind in what it can do. This can work different ways. On this example here, I have put a document in, British Journal of Education Technology. It's actually my document and it was open access, so I was okay putting it in. I've got notebook guide there that takes me to things I want, study guides, creates them off the image. I can make them smaller, go back to notebook, and I can go over here to
language enthusiast.
I can go over to the document and even have a podcast style interview on that document. Now the sound of this isn't great, so I'm going to play another one that we have here. And this one is inside we fed an artificial intelligence index report, which was 503 pages, way too much. And we put it in, and this, again, open access, and this is the audio that it's created. I'll let you listen for a few seconds. The beginning does sound very kind of AI, but then after that, you wouldn't realize if it was a human or not with the American accent.
Ready to break down some research?
There it
This
is.
paper, Artificial Intelligence Index Report 2024, explores the rapid advancements and growing influence of artificial intelligence, AI, in our world.
I'm ready. It's absolutely incredible how fast AI is evolving.
It certainly is. The report emphasizes how AI's impact on society has never been more pronounced. It dives into technical advancements, public perception, and geopolitical dynamics surrounding AI development. Can you elaborate on some of the key findings?
Oh, absolutely. This year's report is jam-packed with original data. It introduces new estimates.
So I'm going to stop it there. That was just created from an article. Just think about the amount that we have to read and take in. And can you imagine if you could just, in your car drive, you could have it as a very accessible interview, maybe even for students to actually take some of this real hard information in. This is a great way to do it by audio. So I am going to finish there. There's lots more to tell you, and I'm going to be ready for questions now as well. But if there's a QR code there, if you want to go to the website where I have various white papers, all sorts that we publish, but also the white papers that kind of give you a quick summary of what you need to know, as well as presentations and all sorts of other things. So feel free to take a look at that. And I am ready for questions. This is the program I mentioned, Vidoo, that created that quick image there, and I asked it to make it a video. Okay, I am going to move the slides out of the way and be ready for questions.
Thanks so much, Prof. Crompton. So Carmen has now given everyone rights to be able to use their microphones. So if you do have a question, you are welcome to switch on your mic and ask, or if you prefer, you're also welcome to make use of the chat pane. I see we already have a question from Gabrielle that asks, can we have the QR code again, please?
Yeah, let me bring that back up.
All right. Any other questions from participants?
Yeah, I can answer another one while I'm bringing that up.
Well, while they're all thinking, so I was a little naughty and I asked ChatGPT if it was attending our photos conference and it had you here as our guest speaker, what would it ask you? And it was such a great question. It asks, with the recent launch of humanoid robots like Elon Musk's Optimus, how would you see AI-driven robots impacting education over the next 5 years? What a great question.
And I don't see the question, so can you just, so human robots, humanoid anthropomorphic robots in education, was it?
Yeah, I'm quickly going to throw it in the chat pane for you if it makes it easier. But I just, yeah, I thought it was excellent how it was able to draw together things that are so current with some of the topics that you've addressed in your keynote.
Yes. Okay, I see it. This is wonderful. Okay, so what's nice about it in education, it provides again that more human touch. They're being used. I actually have 4 humanoid robots I've had for the last 15 years, the Now robot, NAO. And what these tools are great for is really connecting with students, especially students with learning difficulties. Autism, it is wonderful because they can do all sorts of things. It just gives us an extra presence. And in fact, the robots I have were for companions originally before they went into education. And it helps people with kind of humanizing AI even more. We have to be careful again looking at that difference and reminding all educators and all students that they're not human and they think differently. But it is great for that. I often get the question as well about, well, when are they going to do something really useful like iron my clothes and do things around the house? And that's a whole area where they're actually coming in and doing things like this. I was watching one the other day that had eggs and it was cracking eggs into a bowl ready to cook, and it did it perfectly. So we are in for interesting times. Like I said at the beginning, the next 5 years, we are going to see vast changes in not just education, but the whole society. So let's hope we use it the right way.
Thanks, Helen. Leon, you're welcome to switch on your microphone. I see you have a question you'd like to ask. Carmen, can we just ensure that the participants are able to switch on their mics, please?
No, thank you so much for this presentation. I think it really comes in an appropriate time. But I want to ask, what I often experience in spaces like this is that one gets very overwhelmed by the amount of AI available. And also, if a person like yourself coming in who are quite averse using AI, moving between AIs, it sometimes just feel like, oh my goodness, I'm so far behind. How do I catch up? I try to always, when I work with academics, to encourage them to select free and start with free and get to know free very, very, very well before they start to explore any other. And I use often Copilot as a kind of a safe space to teach them about AI, because in our university we have that with a Microsoft 365 license. But I want to just ask you for a bit of ideas about how do you manage it when you work in the space with students to also not overwhelm them around AI. In South Africa, our biggest problem is the cost of data, and it is access to technology and internet and also connectivity issues. And then, I think the other point I want to make is we forget about the environmental impact of AI. We don't talk about what is the long-term impact, the use of energy, the use of water, and also space. As we see everywhere, we're going to need more and more space for data centers and kind of data spaces that still need physical spaces. And I think that is the other element that we must guard against in promoting AI as a kind of a solution to a problem rather than a tool to solve a problem. Thank you.
Yes, that's so. There was a few pieces in there. That was a great question. And so I'm trying to think which one to address. So the first one is, yes, people are very overwhelmed. So the strategy you gave there about 3 tools, show them that, or even start with 1 and then move to 3. But what I do is I hook them personally. Like I played the music one, because it gets people excited. And what they do then is they go off and use it, to play with personally. It's not like, oh, I've got to learn this tool. It's, oh, look at this. I could send a image. I could send a audio to somebody. I could create this really easy. So I get them hooked that way and then transfer that to, okay, now you know this tool and you've got familiar and you're excited. How can you use it in education? The cost, like you said, yes, it does have a large cost. I mean, that's why they're creating Stargate and things like that. But there is a cost to the environment. Every image we make uses a bottle of water. So if you think about the amount of water, and in fact, that is where we're going to have great changes. The highest commodity at the moment globally in anything is artificial intelligence, because of, once you've got artificial intelligence, cognitive help, that cognitive help can help the cognitive help, but it's huge. The next ones are water and energy. And yes, and in fact, we see lots of upset about countries. Taiwan have chips, that we have a lot going on there. A lot of Saudi Arabia are pushing that they have the water and the energy. So this is going to be changing in multiple different levels, from what we're using, resources, the cost of it, to all sorts of others. And I think I did one more that you mentioned there is students, getting them to use it. And the big thing I say to them is, you really don't want to have it doing things that you should be thinking about. If you end up in the job in the future, you're going to need to have this information. You don't want to look like an idiot stood there saying, well, I passed my exam because I got ChatGPT to do it, but I don't know how to do my job. That's not going to be helpful to you. So I kind of say it for that. But then really I'm changing my assignments. But I also want to instill in them the idea that use it for the right things. So hopefully that covered them all, but feel free to post in the chat otherwise. And I can see there's lots of other questions. What should I go for?
Helen, perhaps the question that Tasha asked earlier of how we teach the academic integrity and use of AI. She asks do we create documents? Do we have classes on it? But what strategies would you recommend?
So I have sessions about, academic integrity and what you should be doing and how to use these tools. I mean, you've seen in the media people making huge mistakes, from lawyers even, to that they asked for citations and they came back wrong. These programs are getting better, but we do need to tell everybody, for the academic integrity, what should be done and what shouldn't be done. We're also in a place where the technology is in advance of the policies and guidelines. So it's like a train going, and they're building the train as it's moving, and we're trying to put the pieces in. That we have a lot that way. I don't know whether you're looking for very specific on academics, but I tell people how the programs work and then how to use it. There's all sorts of different levels on what you can use it for. Basic editing, like we have Grammarly, we have no issue in using that. It can help with things, but it shouldn't be writing our papers. A quick one is, this is at all levels. We have professors that are putting book chapters in. I've edited 3 books this year. One, Artificial Intelligence, Higher Education, just come out, K-12, and another one with a group in South Africa on just general use of AI and technology. And what we had experience from that is academics submitting chapters that were completely written by artificial intelligence. And it went on even further that when they were reviewing other people's, they were putting other people's chapters into these programs to get it to do the work for them. And again, that person had no right in putting somebody else's work into these large language models. So it's a very big area. I hope I've covered a little bit, but that is something to explore further.
Thank you so much, Helen. Can you believe it? That brings us exactly to 10:30 in South Africa. We really appreciate the session, and more recently, lots of conversation has been going on in the chat pane. We appreciate the time that you took to speak with us, and I definitely think you've left a lot of us with a number of things to ponder for what the next 5 years will look like with AI in higher education.
Yes, absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. I'll stay in the chat for just a couple of minutes if anyone has any burning questions, but thank you.
Thanks so much. Colleagues, just for everyone regarding how our program works, please make sure that you keep the program, the live program, open on one of your computer tabs. You'll see from now onwards at 10:45, we then start splitting up into two separate halls. So you will then be able to access the live links, and then each time make sure that you log out and then join a different session. So for now, we'll have a quick comfort break and then return again at 10:45. Thank you, everyone.